To speak to some of the positives that we've seen as a result of COVID-19. Now, keep in mind, we brought a lot of this stuff up during problems associated with COVID-19, but nonetheless, it's kind of like seeing the silver lining in all of this is like, we've seen an unprecedented waiver by the DEA to be able to make sure our patients stay active on medications. We see treatment providers changing their protocols every single day in order to be able to provide patients with access of care. Now, is that frustrating at times? Of course it is, but nonetheless, our patients are getting access to care irregardless. We have peer supports like Jake calling everybody on their caseload daily, trying to reach in, trying to check in on people, trying to make sure they have access to their next appointment. We have housing organizations, or a recovery house that are making sure that their residents are afraid of, being kicked out if they lost their job, to be able to maintain stable housing. They have peers in the house with them that they can check in with every single day. We have Epic coaches that are calling their patients every single day to check in. And so, even though we've seen, a myriad of problems as a result of this, we've also seen like an unprecedented coming together of the recovery community to be able to make sure, that the people that we serve still have access to care. Now, a lot of those were brought up in the problems as well, but nonetheless, I think, everybody on this call and a lot of the people working in the recovery community should be proud of themselves. You see the Archway Institute releasing a ton of grants to be able to help housing organizations, outreach programs, whatever, stay active, stay able to serve their patients or clients, and be able to figure this out. Because, look around, guys. Like this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll speak to, I guess, some of the stuff that we're doing. I don't know. We've been like encouraging a lot of like internal culture. We've got multiple houses, so it's, what once was, encouraging all those houses to band together, like at a central location, like our intake house, has now turned into encouraging to like, just foster your in-house culture and various ways of doing that. So I think the guys have really like adopted that and kind of taken this like, hey, well, Virginia House is in it together. And, they've kind of like banded up these little pockets of brothers within each house, which is cool. And then if you like the social media or the, like these platforms like this, like the VC, the Zoom, the whatever, like that's what we're using for our 10 o'clock, our nightly meetings. And so that still keeps the dot connected. So I do believe like on the back end of this, we could have a much stronger organization culture wise, just because everyone has stepped up and it's like, you know what, we're in this together. And although we can't go from house to house, like we're gonna live as a family inside this house. And so that's been super cool to see and be a part of. And we've gotten like we've gotten a ton of community support, or that comes from, like Archway sending their grant to us, helping us. We've created like our own little food pantry here to alleviate food anxiety, because that's kind of the big one as economy's low. This has been like service work central, honestly. It's kind of wild to think that, but with the stay-at-home order, but I have, and this is, for the whole city, you see everyone thinking outside themselves. It's like the obvious, like protect yourself and disinfect, all that, but it's just like this constant thought process of, well, what about the guys on the front line, or the active user, or the recovery houses, or how can we outreach this person, or how can we support this group? Like, it's just put all of that in the forefront of everyone's mind.
Yeah, it has, Jordan. It's brought out the best in humanity. It really has. It's incredible.
kind of the flip side of that, though, Jordan, is, self-care. People are, yes, being a lot more selfless at times. It seems like they, bringing out the best in humanity. You are seeing a lot of cool things, but I've noticed myself at times get frustrated with clients or residents and, things, and, I'm telling myself my mind is playing tricks on me, and I'm getting annoyed with things, and then I find that I have to find new ways to recenter. I can't go over to my groups, or I can't go over to the intake house, and the guys at my house sometimes are the ones that are bothering me, or my family members sometimes are the ones that are getting on my nerves, and so it's tricky. The whole self-care thing is tricky because screen time, I feel like I get 24 hours a day screen time now. And so, you might think that you want to minimize screen time, but I don't know, man. I just wanted to bring up MIMH Addiction Science Team put out this document, COVID-19 self-care resources. I don't know if any of you have gotten it or looked at it. It's got a whole bunch of cool resources, like live zoo feeds. So like you can go, like, almost virtually go to the zoo and see these animals live. It's got a bunch of things for kids. It's got a bunch of mindfulness things like meditation routines. It's got music and entertainment, physical health. There are a lot of organizations like Planet Fitness that are doing, let's see, Gold's Gym is offering free access to its app until the end of May, where there's more than 600 audio and video workouts along with DJ mixes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And sports, virtual connecting like Duo, Zoom, FaceTime, different FaceTime things. And, I have found myself, so not everybody has, I also have a video game that I can kind of check out and play a video game sometimes just to get away from all the, because when you're doing it like I'm doing it, for example, I'm at work 8 hours a day, and then I come home to recovery house, and I'm basically at work the rest of the time too with the residents at recovery house. So I find that self-care for me has been huge. It's just constant needs. Everybody needs help. There's always situations. People are at each other's throats, I feel like, and it's places like sober living, at least in some of the experiences that I've had. And it's hard to deal with 24 hours a day. You just made me think of self-care when you said selflessness. I guess that makes me selfish.
No, I think that's definitely important. I mean, I feel like I'm working somewhat more than I was before, and I was working a lot before, but because you have access to the work all the time, so it's not like I get my 30-minute drive out to Barnes to do an outreach just to like listen to music in my car. Nope, that 30 minutes is, I can use that 30 minutes. So it's like taking time to take a break or to eat lunch, not in front of your computer, things like that. I do think self-care is important. It's interesting to me too. We get hit over the head with self-care as peers all the time, but it's interesting that the whole world is being enlightened with self-care right now through the news and everything else. So, yeah. Good point. What else? Anything else that we want to bring up about COVID-19, about recovery?
Yeah, so one more quick positive that I've seen, I think sometimes in the recovery world, you kind of get different camps of philosophy, and a lot of times those different camps kind of go head to head with each other on what's the right philosophy, what's the best track for patient care, et cetera. And I think, as a result of this and a result of the ever-changing treatment world as a response to COVID, that it's like, what, let's all put our differences aside and just focus on a common goal for like patient care, access to care, and like how can we support each other in this time and support the people that we serve together, rather than, internally, battling it out, as some might say. So I think you do see like a level of unity as a result of this thing, that maybe the recovery field itself hasn't seen before.